Okay, welcome back to another episode of Go to Hell with Erica and Kelly. This is Kelly. Hopefully you recognize my voice by now if you've been listening to our episodes. Erica is also here. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
And we are doing a part 2 with our special guest, Miss Caitlyn. Say hello.
Hey.
If you did not listen to Caitlyn's first episode with us, you can definitely do that. Pause this one, go listen to that first because it's awesome. We'll give you a lot of context for what we're going to talk about today. Um, but Caitlyn in our last episode talked about how she was going to go to Mongolia, and now she's back. So, we're just going to get the missions update from Caitlyn of all the cool things she did and saw and thought about in Mongolia. Um, we don't really need to ask her what she's gonna send to hell because it's still raccoons and olives. If you want a full explanation of that, you can go and listen to it in our other episode. It's a little intense, but I mean I'm on the same page, so I won't hold that card too close to me. Raccoons and olives can indeed go to hell. But anyway, without further ado, Caitlyn, just what do you want to share about Mongolia? I'm very excited to hear. I know you submitted or you sent out your email update today, and I made myself not read it, even though I was super excited because I didn't want to have any spoilers for this call.
It's
So
a spoiler-free
I know,
episode.
yeah, this is live reaction right here. So,
Wow.
um, yeah. So Caitlyn, I literally know nothing, but please enlighten us about what happened in Mongolia.
Yeah. So I was in Mongolia for about 2.5 weeks, I think. Um, so the first part of our trip, we actually went to Seattle and got some cross-cultural training. I traveled with a small team of 5, and basically, like, there was 4 Native Americans and 1 non-Native. And it was my very first time going international, leaving the country, finally using my passport. Like, I was so excited. I was like, give me all the stamps you can. Um, when we went into Canada, because we spent an afternoon there, I was like, do they give stamps? And our leader was like, no. He was like, don't ask, because that's gonna be a little embarrassing. So I was like, I had to
Wow.
yeah,
What a
I was like, I
letdown.
had to stop myself. Um, but yeah, so there's about 5 of us that went, and we actually got to visit the YWAM base in Discovery Bay, and we got to just get to know YWAM more and what they're doing and their mission and their heart, and that was pretty exciting. I mean, I've always heard about it, but I never went to the base or I mean, I know people who have done YWAM, so that was pretty cool to learn more about. So shout out to YWAM, y'all are doing great stuff. and and so yeah, we spent some time in Seattle. We got to hang out and just get some training. And one of our hosts from Mongolia was actually in Seattle. So she got to do the cross-cultural training there. And there she just shared about the Mongolian people and their culture and just some different cultural norms they have that's different than America. Um, and so, yeah, she just kind of got to share with us about the people and who we're going to talk with. And fun fact is so when Mongolia, they are a pretty nomadic country in a different way. Like their technology is probably really behind than America. Even they have a lot of herders who do sheep and ride horses and all of this. And what they say was Navajo, so specifically my tribe, they say there could be some ancestral roots from Mongolia. Navajos could originate from Mongolia. And one of the biggest things is when a Mongolian baby is born, they get these blue spots on their back. And for Navajos, we get blue spots on our back. And so when I was a baby, I got blue spots on my back. And as you get older, goes away. And it kind of looks like bruises, but it's not. And out of all the tribes in the U.S., I mean, I've only heard of Navajos who get them. I mean, I don't know if other tribes do, And so, like, there's just those different cultural ties to the Mongolian people. And in Mongolia, they also have, like, different tribes as well. And so, yeah, we're in Seattle. We fly out. It was, like, how long was it? It was, like, 12 hours on a plane. First time ever doing that, too. We landed in Korea, South Korea, for a day and night. And then the next day, another 3 hours to Mongolia. And we flew to the capital. We stayed in, they call it UB. So we stayed there, and, like, honestly, like, I don't think I was, like, crazy culture shock. I think the thing that, like, shocked me was, like, the traffic and the roads, and the capital actually has a lot of, like, Russian influence in it, with, like, the buildings, the roads, and a lot of people live in UB. A lot of young people especially. And so we stayed there, like, one night. When we went to the black market, it's basically like a giant
Wait a second.
market.
The black market?
Yeah, that's what they call it, the black market.
That's crazy. Can you get anything there? What do they sell on the black market in Mongolia?
Everything. They sell boots, they sell, like, sheep fur insoles for your shoes, they sell coats, they sell jewelry, they sell everything. Like, some of the things are imported also, I think, from China and Russia. And so, yeah. And so we, like, got to spend some time there. We got to visit some convenience stores, and so, like, I got unlocked to a new whole world of Red Bull.
Let's
Please
go.
explain. What?
Okay, wait. First, backstory, side note for our listeners. Caitlyn's probably the biggest Red Bull addict I know.
Whoa. I did not say that.
She
I
has
would not
not
say an
even
addict.
She's not even in the first stage of recovery because denial is so real. But anyway, so she'll talk about Red Bull any chance she gets, and obviously she's going to talk about it on this podcast. But anyway,
Well,
continue, Caitlyn.
now my flex is I got to try Red Bull from Thailand that was, like, imported in Mongolia.
That's awesome.
In Korea they call it, like, what was it, like, Red 6, or I don't remember really, but someone was like, that's, like, our Red Bull. So got to try that. Very different. It's, like, more flat. I don't know, that's a part of this experience. And yeah, and so we got to just meet a lot of wonderful people, and have amazing food. A lot of their dishes consist with, like, mutton, and it's pretty, like, plain. So they have, like, mutton ribs, rice. They have boots, which is, like, mutton dumplings. They have yeah, like, it was crazy, like, how much mutton. In Navajos, we love mutton. Like, we love sheep. So for me, it was like heaven, you know? like we got to, like, eat so much sheep, and yeah, and so then from UB, after our one night there, we went to a nomadic area, and there we got to spend some time with just such a beautiful family. It was probably one of a life-changing experience for me. So we took a taxi. I know this story is wild because from UB to that family was about 10 hours. We took a taxi at night.
Oh.
Keep in mind, there's camels in Mongolia, there's horses, there's, like, wild livestock, and basically what happens is, like, these people, they, like, it's crazy. Like, they make their own roads in the dirt. Like, they know where they're going. They know every turn. They know, like, what's happening. And so the next day we took a taxi, went out to the nomadic family, and just spent some time, about, like, 4 or 5 days with them. Even though it was short, it felt like we'd known them forever. And it was, like, so refreshing just to be with people who don't live by a schedule or a clock. They don't eat with forks, really. They eat with their hands, and they're such like communal people. And like when we were there, some of our team, they went out to help the dad with the livestock, and I got to spend a lot of time with the mom. And so we had a local interpreter, and he did phenomenal. Like, this guy, he knew what he was doing. He like understood the heart. Like, he was wild, like good. Like, it was really cool just to meet him. And so he stayed a lot with us, and basically like our team would go out and help the dad, because like there's 4 guys and then 2 girls. So all 4 guys would always go out with the dad, and me and the other young lady, we would go help with the mom. And so we had different chores in the morning. So the guys would like go outside, pick up cow poop, take the horses to get water, chop wood. And then me and the other young lady, we would be inside and help the mom with like dishes and sweeping and making our bed. And what they do is they live in a gyr. So a gyr, I also heard it referred as a yurt, but they told us a gyr. And it's basically like a circular home. They have like poles, and it's easily like transfer, like you can move it. So in seasons, like if it's winter, you can move it. Summer, you can move it. And the family had 2 different gyrs like connected. And so we stayed in the back of the gyr, and they had their own gyr. And in there, it's just like a big like circle. Like, there's no individual the rooms. There's no like if you think of a house here, you have all these personal spaces, but there it's just a circle. And when you come in, you're supposed to enter clockwise, and their door faces, I think, east. And for Navajos, we have a thing called a hogan. And so our hogan is also circular. And what happens is, like, when you enter, you're supposed to enter clockwise. And there's also no doors or personal spaces. It's like a communal. So you have like your kitchen in there. They have a stove right in the middle, and that's how they warm up their water. That's how they cook. Then they have just a little sink. Then they have a bathroom outside, a porta potty, and then a bed like the mom and dad, and like a table, just for when people come and eat. And like, it was amazing. It was pretty funny because like when we were all staying in one gyr, me and one of the girls shared a bed. Another guy had a different bed. Another guy had a different bed. And the other 2 slept on the floor. And it felt like we're sleeping at like grandma's house. So we were calling it like sheep camp, because like there's no cell service. There's no running water. The landscape was like breathtaking. Like, the sky was open. A lot of Mongolians, they are raised to like herd sheep and ride horses and care for their cows. And so like the mom would like go out and milk the cow. And what they do is, like, when people come to visit, they make milk tea. And I think it's like milk and honey and sugar, maybe, I don't know, or black tea. And they always have milk tea. Like, milk tea is their drink, like, every single day. Like, it felt like every meal, milk tea, throughout the day, milk tea. So if you're lactose, maybe Mongolia is not for you, because they love their milk tea. And like, what they told us in our training is, like, if someone offers you something, at least try it, like, because that shows respect. And I was always taught by my grandma, if someone cooks or offers you food, at least try it, or like get a little bit. Like, even if you don't finish it, like, they care about like the effort. And so when we were there, one of the very first things they did was offer milk tea, and they have a like bread. It's like a sweet bread, and they like dip it in their tea, or a cookie, and they have candy. And so like those 3 things were always out on the table. So right away, a family came to see us, and they refer to Native Americans as Indians, because that's what they see on TV or like hear on the radio. And so they heard like, oh, the Indians are here. So a family came, and it's not like 2 people. Like, it's like mom, dad, 3 siblings, and then like at one time there's like 2 horsemen who came on their horses. And like, people come, like, they were just so excited. And the amount of times we heard, like, you guys are the first Indians we've met, and the questions they had of, like, what are you guys doing in America? Like, how, like they just had so many questions. It was crazy to see how fascinated they were, even with, like, Native American history, and, like, they knew what happened. And so right away, a lot of our conversations, the only thing that could make sense of why we're there was because of Jesus. And so, like, right away, like, just sharing, like, like, about Jesus and how, like, we have this hope and that they can have it too, was crazy, because, like, God started, like, it was a God thing. And really, when we went, we had no agenda, which was really new to me, because people have their own, ideas of what they want to do or whatever. But for us, it was just go and do life with the people. And so we did life with the people, and first with the nomads, and, like, we got to visit about, like, around 10 different gears of people, like families, and just their culture of community and hospitality, and how they care for one another. And they don't have a lot, materialistic things, but they are so rich in, like, the way they care, and support each other. And like, even when they, like, so they have these locks on their gears when they leave. And the mom told us that, like, everyone knows where all their keys are, because if someone's traveling and they see a gear, they just unlock it and have some tea and bread in their house. Then they lock it back
That's
up and
awesome.
continue. So, like, this community is very nomadic, but, like, they really, like, look out for each other. And I got to just see the mom, like, do care. I got to see her support. I got to see her encourage. Like, this woman is like Wonder Woman. Like, seriously, like, her heart for Jesus is just so passionate and contagious. And we call her H. So H is, like, my mom. So I told her, like, you're my Mongolian mom. And when we got there, everyone thought I was Mongolian. So they were like, whose relative is she? And I was like, none of yours. Just kidding. I'm the one from America. Yeah. And so, like, me and two of the other Navajos, everyone thought we were Mongolian. And so they were like, they'd look at us and be like, Mongol? Like, are they Mongolian? And we're like, no. We all kind of laughed, because the way you would introduce yourself is like, Sambano, Meniner, Kate. And so I actually went by Kate there, because they couldn't say Caitlyn. And so, like, even their language is so beautiful. And I'm, like, you guys want to hear about my goal? I'm just like, I don't know if you guys have questions, but
Okay, I do. Is
okay.
there if like they're thinking you're Mongolian and there's all these similarities between the Navajo and the Mongols, what is the language similar at all, or is the language completely different, or did you notice anything that was kind of the same?
I think, like, some of their words had, like, a glottal stop, or like a /L, like, pronunciation.
Hmm.
And so, like, it was easier, at least, like, for me, in different ways, to, like, say some words when, like,
Okay.
because our leader, he was also Navajo. And so he'd tell me, like, this is, like, he spelled it out in Navajo. And when he spelled it out in Navajo, I got the word, like, pronunciation right. But, like, when the rest of the team would, like, try, it was harder. And so I think, like, some of the pronunciation was pretty close. And even, like, kind of jumping ahead of, like, like, my story with Mongolia.
Hmm.
Um, we went to a school on our second part of the trip, and we got to hang out with some third graders. And I taught them the word yat eh, which is hello in Navajo. And I wrote it on the board. And our translator, like, they all tried to say it, and our translator wrote it in Mongolian. And when he wrote it and they said it, it was really, like, perfect. And so, like, just to see, like, how, like, similar, it's not the same word, but, like, I think different sounds, some of them are.
Hmm.
It was easier to, like, kind of switch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's so cool. And just like How many other types of similarities did you find that like maybe you weren't expecting, like culturally, or was it still pretty different?
I think like the way they honor their elders and kind of like their parents too. So like they really so like a lot of the Mongolian people I think do like Buddhism or shamanism.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we've seen some different shrines going actually. And basically like when so the way a gear is set up is like the bed or chair or something is in the back of the gear. And what they say is the head of the house or the person of honor or the elder sits in the back. And what that shows is like they're like ranked number one, and then the men are to enter in, and then the woman. And so women in Mongolia are like in America it's very much like feminism, like I'm a woman, give me all my rights. But there it's like they're a lot more like I would say I don't want to say quieter because like H was not quiet. Like she was super passionate and like but like they're like because the men like clean or no, because the men like help with the animals outside and do livestock, the role of the woman was to be like in the gear, cleaning, cooking, caring, supporting. And because like the men were being men and doing what they needed to do, I think it was easier for the women to do it. They like trusted each other, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
When like on this side of America, it's like a lot of women tend to take leadership or are very much in charge and like leading all this stuff, and like the men kind of have a harder time stepping up, especially with like
Mm-hmm.
natives. I think in a native like culture, a lot of women are very I think matriarchal, and so like for men it seems harder to like have them step up or push them to step up or even like let them step up because like women are such like determined and resilient, and but there it's like opposite. So that was like a difference in a way, but it didn't feel different, if that made sense. Like it was like, okay, like I'll do this, and they're
Yeah.
gonna do what they need to do, and like trusting like that's gonna be done.
Right.
But yeah, they really have a high respect for the elders. And then when with Native people, at least like I know, it's like we have a very high respect for elders, making sure they eat first, making sure they're taken care of first, like just all of that, making sure you're respecting them. So that was like a value I seen even with like sheep. So like Mongolians, have like a lot of sheep, and they don't just eat it, but like they really care for it. And with like Navajos, one of our main core like livestock is sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And so like with that, with the housing, just how like their gear is to like a hogan, like that's similar. Um and yeah, I mean like there were some different like similarities like I did see within like the culture. And I guess like facially too, maybe, I don't know, because like everyone thought I was Mongolian.
Mm-hmm.
So like I mean like I guess I blended in. Um
Yeah. Well, you were
yeah.
meant to be there
Yeah.
for sure. That's so cool.
Okay, I have a question about the people you were sharing with, because I know you said it was pretty clear like how you were able to communicate that you were there because of Jesus and all of that. Were the people listening pretty receptive to that, or did they have any questions about Jesus? Had they already heard about Jesus? Like yeah, how did they engage with that heart that you guys brought to their community?
Yeah. Well, I think there was so this family we stayed with has hosted like ministry teams before. Different people from YWAM and wherever else that come and stay with them. And H, she really like we didn't go with an agenda of like we're gonna share the gospel with all these people. I mean, like if the opportunity opened itself up, like we jumped on it and was like, let's do it. But like again, like from the beginning, like we went to do life with them. and in a way we had to like earn a right to talk to them about Jesus, like earn a respect. And so when she would take us to these families, she'd ask, share your story. And like, then she'd be like, give the gospel. So like all of us had different opportunities too. And a lot of families we went to, they would say like, we're the first natives they met. And as like they had so many questions, and again, it's like we're just communicating over bread and milk tea and candy. And they had so many questions about, America this, like, where do you guys live now? Like, what do you guys do? Like, do you guys ride horses? And like, so many questions, like, when it came to our story, so there was some similarities, like alcoholism is huge out there. Suicide is huge out there. Even like their spirituality of like traditional or like, like Buddhism, shamanism, like that sounds pretty huge out there too. Like when you talk to someone who has seen what it was to be like in the a family where like there was like alcohol or all of that, and you hear about Jesus, the people respond. Like we didn't, with the nomadics, we didn't get someone be like, yes, like I want Jesus. But they were really listening. And I think it's because like, one, they were fascinated with natives. Like they were all like, wow. But two, like to have like, it was, the response we kept getting is, this team is different. This team is different. Like these guys are different. And I think it's really because one, it was the Lord like that orchestrated every family we met. But two, like we understood like what it was to like kind of be forced into a religion. And so we knew like going there and offering, Jesus, that would have to be a choice like they were willing to make and wanted to make. And even if like they did say no, like we still went and loved them just as much as if they would have said yes. And like they really, like, so okay. With our time there, so the mom, she has a best friend who's a shaman, and she does a lot of prayers and stuff like that. And when she came, like H has been praying for her for years. They're like childhood best friends. And when she came, she wanted to like just spend a lot of time with us, and we got to like share, our heart with her, and she shared her heart with us and some of the team. And just to see how the Lord like really like brought her with us was like beautiful, because like she didn't believe in Jesus yet. But like she dropped a lot of her shaman responsibilities, and she's a political leader. So like she heard the gospel every time we went to these families because she was driving us. And like just to see like how like she wanted to be with us was like pretty amazing. And how much like she was like, I'm not going to do those like practices, or like I'm not going to do what like the shaman thing. And like she just wanted to be with us. And I think that says a lot about like what it means to do life with people. And so like with her in the picture of her traveling with us, a lot of the families we went to were listening even more, because like you have this political leader, you have these natives, these res kids, and they're talking about Jesus, like, like what? And it really seemed like it was probably like how the evangelism looked like in the book of Acts, because we literally went from gear to gear, had a meal, had bread, milk, or milk tea, or cookies, conversated, talked about the gospel, gave them an opportunity. If they said yeah, like if they said no, or like they weren't ready, we dusted the mats and we went to another family. Like that was like literally like what we did. And just to see like the Lord work in that was like such a highlight, because like he he just had to remind me of like just the power of the simple gospel and how much we like talk about Jesus, we preach about Jesus, we do ministry and everything around the cross, but we really forget to see the people we are talking to, or we get to take time to really like hear them out. And so for me it was like refreshing, and really I think what I needed in my own life to like kind of strip all these ideas I had of ministry and like whatever ideas I had and like I felt like he just like lasered me back into with the cross. But something I do want to highlight is, so H has this piece of land her and her friend own, and they have 2 houses, they have a basketball goal, volleyball goal, a little small playground, and like they want to make a discipleship, like kind of like a discipleship center there for Mongolians. And basically like what that would entail is people come and get training and do evangelism. And so she has this big heart, for Mongolia, not to just be a mission field, but a mission force. And she has a land. And like it was a like, for me it was a big heart match just to see like H wanting to raise up people within her own, people group to be missionaries and to be a mission force, like kind of like how my heart is to see Native young leaders become that mission force and, being a part of that. And so she took us to this property and we got to pray over it and pray with her and just encourage her of like, like we've seen God do it here, like at the ministry I'm with, the Gap Year program. And when we first started, we just had the land. We had the land, we had an idea, the dream, but then God just exceeded it and went more than what we thought. And now we have a beautiful building, and I get to work with some amazing students, and like God is a God of his word. And so like just encouraging with H with that of like God can do it. He's done it. And it was just so beautiful just to see this woman of God, and just to hear her heart for her people was like, oh man, it's captivating. Like it's like, how can you not be a part of that? And so like I had a really, really good time with her. And so like that kind of is like a small glimpse of our time with the nomadics, and that's like the first part of our trip. Like I could talk about them so much more, but I got to get to the other like village we went to. And so that concludes Caitlyn with the nomads. Also,
I do have one question about H and like her ministry and everything. Is she kind of on her own in like she loves the Lord, she's trailblazing this, or is there a decent house church or like other Christian families around that are supporting her? Like what does that look like?
I think she's kind of trailblazing it on her own.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, she even shared how lonely it can kind of be there, because she doesn't have like a church, or like her heart is really for the nomadics, the sheep herders. And so like she really wants like where they live. So like every year there's like some distance in between, like miles and stuff. And they all own like land and cattle and so on. But yeah, she's kind of alone. And so when I was there in the mornings, we do like Bible reading. And it was funny because like the translator was outside, so I didn't have I had to use Google. But basically, like, she showed me a scripture and read it in her language, then I read it in English. And although we didn't have the same language, we got to read from the same Bible to the same God. And like that was like super like refreshing. And it was just like we didn't have to do a whole like outline, or it just was me and her reading the word of God, and like in the mornings and praying. And like again, we didn't have the same language, but like it was the same God. And so that was like super cool.
Yeah, I can only imagine like how much the Holy Spirit would be present in a situation like that, where really, like, you don't have anything fancy, you don't have anything, I don't know, just like the normal way that we do ministry, church, like all that stuff in the
Mm,
US. But I think in like those moments, God shows up so powerfully, like the simple act of just reading
mm.
scripture and allowing it to transcend language, culture, people, like all of that is just like that is the gospel. Like that is the simple gospel. It's just I'm a little jealous, Caitlin. It sounds like such an amazing experience.
Yeah, I
And I
mean, we
can't wait to
didn't.
hear the second half. Like what? That was
Yeah,
just the
we
first
didn't have
half?
signal, so it was like
Wow.
just withdrawing from everything. I mean, it was kind of intimidating, not gonna lie, but
Hmm.
it was like really what I needed. Like, it's when I think about Mongolia, like I think about the people and the culture, and like, it's really where God like wrecked me in a good way. And so part two is we go back to UB, and we actually got invited to an inspirational night at a YWAM base there. And basically that night was like where they share testimonies and worship and kind of what the Lord is doing. And it was their first ever inspirational night. And so when we go, they ask me and another one of our team members to share our story. And so again, this is like one of the first times like I get to like share my story and like it's translated to a different language. And so like that was pretty cool because like I've never done that before again. um and so like I got to share my story with some of the young leaders there, and like God really just like just being able to share about him and where how far he's brought me from with these young people who are like passionate and who want to do ministry was like really like I what is it like it was really like refreshing in a way, because again the same Jesus but just different cultures, and just to like be able to encourage them with that um was like one of like like again, we didn't have a schedule, we didn't have that wasn't in our plan, it just kind of happened. So it was another Holy Spirit moment. And what they said was, so in the 1990s when Mongolia kind of like stopped being a communism state, where the Russians left, they a lot of missionaries from all over the world, went to Mongolia to reach these people, because before they couldn't, because of communism.
Hmm.
And what happened around in the 1990s was 4 Navajos came, and they shared this at this night, inspirational night, of 4 Navajos who came and played basketball with some Mongolians. And what they did was they played basketball with them and they shared the gospel. And from there, that's kind of where Mongolians first, started not just hear the gospel, but respond to it. And that's kind of where they say, like, Christianity, started, like, in Mongolia, was when 4 Navajos came and played basketball and just shared about Jesus. And so, full circle moment is decades later, they get 2 other Navajos share about Jesus again at their first inspirational night. And like it was just so crazy just to think like, wow, like who would have known, like who can orchestrate that, God. Like we did it, they did it, and like it was all the Lord. And so like their leader there shared the story, and he was like, if those 4 Navajos didn't come or share the gospel, like where would we kind of be? And so they have a book on it. I think it's called Glory Road to Mongolia, or Glory something in Mongolia. And so they like told us about that, and I thought that was like, I was like, whoa, like, okay, God, like, what are you doing? So that was a full circle. And then after that, we went to a different part of Mongolia, which is Dunhara, and that's like 4 hours on train. And there we met with another one of our hosts. She has a ministry called Tribal Bridge, and it's to bring, natives into Mongolia to share the gospel and do evangelism and discipleship. She also has a coffee shop in that area, and it's called Americano. and her name is Inkush. And so, like, what she did was, she got training in the States, and she has her whole story, but, like, she started a coffee shop there, and people from that town come, and because it's one of the only coffee shops. And she, like, has a dream of making a school, like a discipleship center as well, which is amazing because, like, again, same heart, same God. We got this momentum going. And so we just spent the rest of our time with her, and she took us to some families, her families. We got to visit that local school I mentioned earlier with the third graders. And yeah, I mean, that time was also super refreshing. I think a lot of just encouragement. And we didn't have an agenda. The agenda was to do life with her. And so there, yeah, we got to, like, cook, clean, do life. She actually lived in a house, but with the nomads, they have a gear. So it was different, but I mean, it was still pretty cool to experience. And they were in the States. So, like, when I mentioned earlier in Washington, her family was the one who trained us from Mongolia. And so when we went to Mongolia and they came back, the Lunar New Year passed. And culturally for them, the oldest has to host, like, the family dinner. And so since they didn't celebrate it, their family waited till this family came back. And so they came back the same time we were there. It's Kush and her family. And so we got to actually see and visit a lot of her family, and a lot of them, there's not a lot of Christians there too, but just being able to be a light, and, like, who can orchestrate that? Like, God can. Like, he literally did. And I got to, talk with her grandma, her great grandma, and yeah, it was just really refreshing again. And super cool just to see how, like, God, orchestrated those moments, and we got to share the gospel. But one of our last nights with Inkush and her family, someone invited us to their house, and what happened was, we were, like, pretty tired because, like, we're coming to the end of the trip, and they wanted to make us a really good dinner, and they did. Like, they made us such a beautiful, like, meal. Like, I still dream about it. I'm like, man, that was just so good. And, like, they made us such a beautiful meal. They like, yeah, this family just wanted us to be in their home. And the mom was a Christian, but the dad wasn't. And so Ankush asked one of our guys to share the gospel with him, and they did. And this dude, he said yes to Jesus, and it literally, like, was one of those, like, 11:59 moments. And not only that, like Ankush, her husband, got to pray with him in their Mongolian language and kind of express, like, this is you saying you're not going to live for yourself anymore. But, like, how awesome was that, like, to see that, like, even if we went to Mongolia for one person and literally almost the last day, like, that was worth the trip to me. That was worth all the what ifs, like that's God. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, like, Mongolia was just a wild experience. Pretty funny too, because a lot of people were trying to set me up with their nephews and and I was like, So I started to get scared of the question, how old are you? Because when someone asks that, I'll be like,
you should have got a fake ring and worn it there.
I probably should have. I wish I did, honestly, because I was
now you know.
It came to the point where I'd, like, tell our translator, because, like, he'd laugh when someone say it, because he has to translate this. So, like, you see, like, all the aunties talking in their language super fast, and he starts laughing. So when I know he was laughing, I was like, they're talking about me. Mm-hmm. And he'd look at me and be like, you want to know? And I'm like, no. And then, like,
I do not.
Like, some of them were like, oh, so-and-so, like, I have a son, I have a nephew, or let me, like, meet my nephew, don't leave Mongolia, like, and it was weird because, like, a lot of the men, aren't Christians, but they all say they want a Christian woman, a strong Christian woman. And I'm like, first of all, no. pass, Uno reverse or
Yeah.
something, skip. I don't
Uno
know. Like,
reverse. Well, there's your in for the gospel. You're
I
like,
was,
hey, look, you want a Christian woman, you got to change some things.
yeah, it's pretty funny because like in the last episode we talked about catching flights and not feelings.
Yes, we
And the
did.
whole time I was like, what the heck? I was like, y'all gotta be kidding me. Like, what is happening? Yeah, so people tried to marry me off. People thought I was Mongolian, but God was super good. God kept me, protected me.
All right,
And
amen.
yeah, and so now I mean there was a lot more that has happened out there, but I think those are just some of the highlights I got.
Yeah.
And like I know you touched on this throughout, and it's just so beautiful to hear like the whole story from like this macro perspective. But if you could summarize like what this did in your own heart, or like how the Lord used this trip to like change your life, because I know you said it was like a life-changing trip. I know that's kind of a hard thing probably for you to like, how do I summarize that? Because it was so intense. But yeah, could you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that's really beautiful, and it does. I loved when you said with H, like there was a heart match, because I know in our first episode you talked about like that heart match thing, and it's just so beautiful to like hear that you had such deep, like rich experiences all in such a compact time. But how will that like impact you moving forward now that you're not in Mongolia?
Yeah. So like kind of even like still unpacking, these experiences to this day, honestly. Um I think like for me like the like kind of switch of just knowing that like how powerful like how much like power there is in simplicity. And I think like in the culture we're in today, in the Western church and whatever, like there's so much ideas of ministry or material, or you don't have all the right things to say, or um pressures that like people put on you. And there, it was just so beautiful just to see how God worked in just such simple ways of one, sharing a meal together, two, getting to know somebody by genuinely being intentional, and three, like earning the right to like share the gospel with them through like relationships. And I think that was really beautiful, was just to see like how simple the gospel is, but how like complex we make it, or we put like our own standards on it. And like, but like no, it's Christ alone. And really like it was cool also to see that like especially with like Native Americans, the hurt and the history of Native people, um for the first time it kind of like, at least like not the first time, but like kind of in my own like way of experiencing that, like going to a different country and seeing that they know and they want to know so much about Native Americans and the history, seeing how God in a way redeemed that. And that can only be through Jesus. And he took such a broken and hurt and just like a history that really is real and raw. But when you put the cross in that and you see Jesus change a person from the inside out, and they can say like, yeah, this did happen, but I have hope now, and I get to experience life at a new, level, and I have a God who cares for me. Like for me, like that was such like captivating, because like yes, we like the history of Native people is real. It is painful, it is raw, but that does not underestimate like the power of the cross. And like it was beautiful just to see like how God redeemed that in a way.
Yeah, that was kind of something that was in my head, thinking like as far as a question for you, and you touched on it even like earlier, was how did that history shape the way that you interacted with people? Because, like, thinking about how Christianity was used, or like the Bible was used to oppress Native people, and yet still you and so many others have found like the true Jesus and like the true gospel, and now you're going somewhere else. And like, does that almost change the way like your sensitivity to people or the way you present it? Or I don't know, like, what is your process? And I guess two questions. And did you ever have like a voice in your head saying like, oh, you shouldn't be here doing this. This is what happened to your people. Now you're doing the same type of thing. I don't even know if that's like completely out of left field, but I just know how my brain thinks, and the way that like the devil tries to discount things.
Mm,
And like I feel like I would always like be second guessing and all those things too. But anyways, yeah, can you talk more about that?
yeah. I think um I think there were some things that like in Native history when it came to Jesus, like they it wasn't presented well, but I also know like some natives themselves, they were the ones who like did violence too. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think Native people, well, there tends to be a stigmatism of like we always play the victims, but there are some like Native history where like natives did messed up things too, like really. Um, and when we went there, we just worked through relationships. Really, we didn't force anyone to believe. We gave an
Yeah.
opportunity, a choice. But if they didn't say yes, like we still love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like just the sensitivity of like the gospel is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a gift if someone will take it. Like if you take it yourself, and I think that was the biggest game changer was like because sometimes with like Christianity and it can feel like forced upon or pressured into when like really Jesus didn't force anyone to believe in him. If
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, he didn't like threaten anybody. He didn't tell someone like he just genuinely was Jesus. He did life with people. He healed people, and because they seen like the power of God in his life, like they were drawn to it. Um, and so for us, like going, it was again like just doing life with them. And if the gospel presented itself, then we jumped on it. Like yes, like that's what we want to do. But like it wasn't something we really like try to force or like if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think like your second question of did it feel wrong? I would say no. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for me like Jesus has done so much, and it was more of like a personal experience of sharing like from my personal life. And so like it didn't feel like it was out of line or like, like this has happened before, because the difference is we gave them a choice, and that
Yeah.
choice was only something like if God inclined their heart at that time and they were ready, that was the work of the Holy Spirit. That was absolutely nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
um and so like yeah, it was kind of like just seeing what the Lord was doing, and being in tune with him. And like I mean, people, whoever listened, like that's God. Whoever hearts are softened, that's the Lord. Whoever responded, that's God. I mean, we just did our part of loving people, and he did the rest.
Mm-hmm. I love your heart so much, because like what you're saying, it's not earth shattering, it's not groundbreaking. Like it's so, like you're saying, it is so simple. It's so pure. But to people who are on like the treadmill of commercial Christianity, especially in like the US, it is earth shattering. Like it is it is just like so, I don't know, it's just countercultural, I
Hmm.
think. But so that can be what like disarms people
Yeah.
into really being able to experience the love of God, and how redeeming, like how redemptive to be able to, like you said, that full circle moment. It's just so cool that like
Yeah.
you're able to choose, you choose to give someone a choice the same way that God gives us that choice, you know? It's really, I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because like going there, like again, I didn't really get culture shock. I don't know why. I don't know. Like even like coming back, like recovering jet lag and all that, like it didn't. People were like, "It's gonna hit you so hard." Like honestly, I don't know how it's supposed to feel. I was calling my mom. I was like, "I don't know if this is what I'm like." I had no expectations, and coming back, like in Arkansas, I think the biggest place and time I had culture shock was when I first came back and I went to Walmart. And like I was like, whoa. Like that was
Yeah.
the time that I was like, this is culture shock. Like this one moment. And it's so weird because I've been to that Walmart many times. I lived here almost 9 months. Like so for me, I was just like, how did I not get culture shock going all the way across the world to a whole different country, but get culture shock coming to Walmart in America? Like,
Yeah. I think it can be
Caitlyn,
worse coming back sometimes more than going
yeah,
places.
the reverse culture shock is real. I can
So
testify.
real.
oh yeah.
After living in Costa Rica for like so many years, when I first came back to the US, same thing. My sister took me to Walmart and she went to go do her grocery shopping and she like came to find me after half an hour. I was still in the chip aisle. And I was just overwhelmed by all of the choices. I was like, why are there so many options in America? This is too complicated.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But I also, Caitlyn, I think it's so cool how you were saying, like, and I think this is so true for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in another country, another cultural space, like another family's home. The most precious way to share the gospel is just by having gratitude for what the Lord has done in your own life. Like, you don't need to convince somebody of like something outside of yourself. You can just talk about what he's done for you. And it's just really neat that you guys got to share like the story of Jesus, but it was your life. Like, you were sharing your story, the story of like what he's done for you, and that way it's not manipulative, it's not like coercive, it's just like the testimony of a changed life. And um yeah, it's just so awesome, that heart posture. I think it's definitely needed more, and we all just need that reminder that like to have gratitude in our own lives for what the Lord has done, and that's such a gift for other people too.
Yeah, I think because I've heard like different people go on mission trips and stuff, and I've always heard people come back and be like, we have this stuff, like we need to be more thankful for like what we have here, or like they do that like that comparison. But I think for me, coming back, like I was more like, man, like they have more like things that we do here, and it's not just materialistic things, but like in a way I like envied how like, they like how much they like want to do life together, community, their hospitality, like how like selfless the people are, and how like in the eyes of the world they're poor, but yet like our host like she said, everyone here says like we're really poor and I'm poor, but inside I'm rich with friendships. And like for me, I was like, man, like it just felt like all these ideas and concepts and wants and needs and everything, like I just kind of I had asked myself, like, does it really matter? If you get the coolest, like thing, or have all this cool stuff, like when like you probably don't have the great relationships around. And yeah, so like coming back, I was thinking like, man, they got all this stuff there, like that I genuinely was like, I wish we had or we can have. And it's like now like challenging like myself with like working better with like community and being more hospitality, like and even like being more willing to like serve, and encourage, and being more selfless, not selfish. And like just those small things I seen and the impact it had, it like challenges me to like want to carry that out in my own life, or at least get better in. Yeah.
So, in all your experience, what do you feel like God sent to hell? I feel like I kind of have an idea, like just kind of based on what you're saying. I'm like, what actually went to hell here? But what is there a way that you would actually frame that?
I don't know. Like,
Because I feel like listening to your story, and
okay.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would say it seems kind of like what went to hell for you was like overcomplication of Christian life.
Mm,
Like, because you're going on and on and on about just like the simplicity of the gospel, the simplicity of community, and like just, building those bridges and relationships. But I don't know, is there something else? Or is there a different way that you would put
um,
that?
I would say like, I mean, I think honestly, yeah. I think like he like had to like strip me of all these complicated ideas, and like when I say ideas, like just I mean, yeah, like do your due diligence with like ministry. But I think sometimes like we care more about ourselves than the cross and the people. We
Mm-hmm.
like what I keep seeing is like this picture of like a cross, and like yeah, like it is ministry, it is for good things, but we care about everything around it, and we forget like to laser into the cross, and then
Mm-hmm.
we like say like love God and love people, but we forget to see the people and spend time with the people. And so like I've been like thinking about like that phrase, and even like now with like the role I'm in of like trying to at least love the girls better. If it is just spending time with them and like genuinely like seeing them, and yeah. So I think that's a good one. I was
Okay,
like, what is
we'll
it?
go
But
with it.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Was there anything else that sticks out at you that was like funny, weird, cool, or
Um
you feel like you covered it? That was really good. I
yeah,
loved hearing all about your trip.
um yeah, I mean, I hope one day to visit their center, because I believe God can do it,
Yeah.
with the nomadics. And I definitely like Mongolia isn't just a country to me anymore, but the people there are beautiful, the resilience they have, the um just man, like God is just too good,
Mhm.
and I think what blows my mind is like God doesn't need us to be God. He doesn't need us to be good. He doesn't need us to be loved, but yet he chooses to love us.
Mhm.
And like how like God chooses to love the people of Mongolia, and it's just coming back down to like, are we gonna love him?
Mhm.
And like really a yes or no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it was really such a refreshing time, and a time in my walk with Jesus that I don't think I'll really ever forget,
Mhm.
because like in Chicago, I'd always tell Kelly this, like, God brought the res girl to the city. And I'm like, I'm just a res girl. I always said that. I was like, I'm just a res girl. I like play basketball. I love smelling dirt when it rains. I love eating potatoes and spam and all that. So I'd always tell Kelly that I'm like, I'm just a res girl in the big city, and like God was
Yep.
doing crazy things out there, like opening doors, and people are like, "What are you doing?" Or like even like Jacob, he'll be like, "Caitlyn is just the coolest person." He didn't say coolest, but that's the filtered word to what he was saying. But um, like
All
he'd be
right.
like, "Wow," and but like thinking like God just took a bunch of res kids who love him
Mhm.
to a country, to love the people there. Like
Yeah.
he's on the move, and like I believe it's gonna be time where like for Native people, like, we're not just a mission field, but a mission force. And this is just one small speck that God is doing. You know, like, we don't even know fully what he's doing all over the country with Native people. But I know, like, he's at work. And so, like, it's amazing. And it is beautiful. And it is, like, I can go on talking about the Lord, like, cause it's not us, you know, it's not me, it's not, it's him. Like, it has to. If it's not gonna be God, it's not gonna work. Like even this trip, like, from the beginning, like, seeing how people, like, supported and wanted to partner, you know, with Mongolia, and just, like, God exceeded. Like, he did what he needed to do, and we were just like, our hands are open, we have no plan but just to live with people, and he, like, positioned everything at the right time. And so, like, he really did go before us, like, truly. And so, yeah, it was really, really good.
That's awesome. Could you, just to wrap things up, could you share with the listeners and myself and Kelly things that it would be good to pray for the people of Mongolia? Like, are there specific ways to be praying for the ministry there, the people there? Like, a couple key points.
Yeah, I think, so, like, we were kind of debrief this with, like, the team I was with. And basically, like, Mongolia is pretty prime for the gospel. Like, really, like, they pack super light, and if you ask them to go somewhere, they'll just bring a backpack and go. Like, they don't, you know, like, here we'll be, like, bringing suitcases and making sure we have every little thing, but there, they're just like, clothes, let's go. And they can also go into some countries that nobody else can. And so, like, they, like, to some closed countries, like, Mongolians can go into. But other country, like, they can go into places we can't. And I think, like, one of the biggest prayer requests that we've gotten a lot was, just praying that God will send, you know, the workers, but also praying for, like, the people there and their hearts to continue to be softened for the gospel. Because, like, there is a big need in Mongolia. And God he's on the move there just as much as he's on the move anywhere. And I think for the local ministries, is that God would send the right people to be on board with them, because, you know, these ministries have such a big heart and a passion for their people, but you also need sometimes other people to help. And so just sending and building the right team that the Lord needs. And finally, I would say just to pray for that the gospel will continue to flow throughout Mongolia, however God needs it to work. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna send, you know, there's already missionaries there in one way or in another, and, you know, people who are doing work in Mongolia, and just praying that God will continue to give them what they need, because, like, they are making a difference, and we just got to witness a small glimpse of it. Yeah.
Right. Well, everyone, as soon as our episode ends, you know what to pray for. Spend a few minutes just praying that the gospel would just go throughout the country of Mongolia. So that is awesome, and that is where we will stop today. So thank you, Caitlyn.
Yes.
That was just so perfect, so awesome that you could come back, and we caught you before you were going, and there was all the excitement. So it's super cool to have you now that you're back from your trip. So this is super special. So thank you for spending another hour with me and Kelly,
thank you guys for having
and everyone.
me.
Yeah, super fun. You're always welcome. After your next mission trip, come on back, share more. Yeah, and thank you to our listeners for hanging with us.
Yes,
And
thank you to those who have listened. We greatly appreciate. I mean, you're probably like, this girl again, but
no.
I'm joking. But yeah, seriously, thank you guys for tuning in.
All right. Well, we'll catch you later.